the man who brought you January 6, a new pattern of aggressive moves, raising alarm and questions about what he's going to do this October. President Donald Trump last night fired the leadership of the Election Assistance Commission. That's the federal agency that provides funding and security guidance to election officials, and it certifies voting equipment. It's one of the few remaining entities of its kind because the Trump administration has already gutted the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. CNN requested comment from the White House and the EEAC. Democratic Senator Mark Warner, who's the vice chairman of the Intelligence Committee, reacted in a statement to the firing, saying, quote, "Removing every remaining commissioner just months before the 2026 midterm elections is an extraordinary step that raises profound concerns about political interference in the institutions that support our elections. This is just one piece of a larger puzzle, Trump's election-obsessed words and actions. First of all, you still typically can't go a week without Trump saying falsely that he won the 2020 election. He did not. Here he was just 2 days ago.
I've been right about everything, and I have been for a long time. That's how I got to be president 3 times. That's how I won 3 elections. I did very well in the second one, won it. It was a rigged election.
He did not do very well in the second one, won it. He lost it. He did very poorly. It was not a rigged election. He continues to lie about this. And remember how people drunk on those false election conspiracies behaved. A violent attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, that resulted in 5 people dead, 1 police officer who died immediately afterward, 4 other police officers who took their own lives after experiencing that trauma, and more than 140 law enforcement wounded or maimed. The president was looking to have the will of the American people obstructed and subverted. He wanted to stop the counting of electors. He wanted to have fake electors make him president. It's a plot that failed, but not for lack of trying. And now here we are more than 5 years later, and there are questions as to what he is planning for 2026 or 2028. The FBI last week ramped up its investigation into the 2020 election in Georgia by dedicating more personnel, an internal memo calling it a priority, according to a source. The seizure, let us not forget, of Georgia's Fulton County ballots and election materials. Now, that was driven by a man named Kurt Olson. Kurt Olson was a presidentially appointed director of election security and integrity. Integrity being a rather loose term, given that Kurt Olson is a 2020 election denier who was actually fined by a court for his 2022 lawsuit that falsely claimed Arizona voting machines were unreliable and subject to manipulation. Now, interestingly, last month, Olson went from the White House to the Justice Department. He's a senior attorney for the Southern District of Florida. Now for more pieces of the puzzle. In February, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, under Tulsi Gabbard at the time, said that they had obtained electronic voting machines in Puerto Rico back in 2025 to look for security vulnerabilities. Now Gabbard is out as spy chief, replaced by Bill Pulte, who's interim director of national intelligence. Pulte has no relevant experience in intelligence or national security, but lots of experience in being a Trump loyalist and in weaponizing the government. The president has said Pulte will investigate elections, and Pulte's now chosen chief of staff is a woman who worked on election-related issues for the Republican National Committee. Then there's Trump's plan for the U.S. Postmaster General to not deliver mail-in ballots in states that don't turn over their voter rolls. If courts don't ultimately kill this, it would put more voter data in the hands of Trump officials looking for supposed election fraud. Also, in the new book Regime Change by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, they write, the authors, that as tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela heated up last year, President Trump taught MAGA pundit Tucker Carlson, tried to use him as a go-between between himself and then Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. From the book, quote, as bait, Maduro had claimed to Carlson that he could furnish proof U.S. voting machines were tampered with in 2020, a transparently calculated appeal to Trump's unfounded stolen election grievances. And he had told Carlson he wanted warmer relations with Washington, unquote. Now, since then, of course, Maduro was captured by U.S. forces. He currently sits in a New York detention center. Given that he was already willing to make false claims about Venezuela rigging the 2020 election to ingratiate himself with Trump, what might Maduro be willing to say now to get out of jail, to avoid spending the rest of his life behind bars? What might the U.S.-backed replacement of Maduro, Delcy Rodriguez, what might she be willing to say or do? Put all of this together. Many government officials are wondering, concerned, some terrified about what exactly President Trump and all the president's men are planning. We're talking about a man who on the first day of his second term pardoned the January 6 rioters, many of whom had committed violence, including beating up cops in Trump's name. We're going to continue to monitor all of this.